These hidden leaks and spills tend to happen under machines, between drums, in sumps or trays, under grates, away from traffic. One thing to keep in mind is that just because a spill may be contained in a sump or tray, don't just leave it in there. Liquid left in a sump or tray could be considered a violation of anything from SPCC to OSHA housekeeping regulations. So, even though the liquid may be contained, it's still a spill. Don't ignore it. So here's 3 tips to help you recognize hidden spills. 1. If you see something, say something. Let's say a facility has 2 safety managers. Let's say those 2 safety managers walk the plant every single day for an hour. That's 10 hours a week devoted to finding spills and unsafe conditions. Not bad. Now let's say another facility has 100 employees staying aware and recognizing spills all day, every day as they work. 100 employees times 8 hours a day times 5 days a week, that's 4,000 hours a week. It's a pretty safe bet that a facility spending 400 times more attention on spills will be about 400 times more effective recognizing spills. In the safest facilities, recognizing spills is everyone's responsibility. Visible spills are spills. Our brains can only focus on so much at one time. So, our brains make things easy on themselves by ignoring a lot of things that go on around us. That's called inattentional blindness. Our brains make thousands of these decisions a day without us ever knowing it. You don't even know what the other option is. It could be, really? Okay, I get it. So the more focused we are on what we're doing, like pulling inventory or checking a machine, the more likely it is that our brains are making us blind to that spill nearby. Don't believe it can happen to you? Think again. We asked people to do a simple task, to take a look at a banner and write down what they thought of it. What we didn't tell them was that we had staged an 8-foot diameter spill at a diesel storage tank less than 40 feet away from where they were standing and in plain sight. Here's what the spill looked like. Then we hid a camera right here to give you a spill's eye view of what happened next. 25 people looked at the banner, and all 25 briefly had the spill in their field of vision at one point. How many of the 25 actually saw the spill? 0. Combined, those 25 people spent almost an hour within 40 feet of the spill and not a single one saw it. Think you could do better? Well, those 25 people have 229 years of combined experience with leaks and spills. Here's the point. Even under ideal conditions to spot a spill, we can't always see what is right in front of our eyes. Everyone feels like they're in the dark sometimes. Everyone. And you know what? That's okay. What's important is knowing your limits and knowing when you don't know something. In spill response, there are 5 uns that will signal a spill is past your limits and you need to get help. If the spill is in an unfamiliar area, it's an unknown liquid, you're unclear on the label, you're untrained, or it seems to be unsafe. Know your limits and notify your spill response coordinator immediately. Your spill coordinator has special training, experience, and tools to guide you and help keep everyone safe during spills. 3. Trust your gut. Step 2. Identify the liquid. Before any spill response can happen, you have to positively identify the liquid. No guessing if it's the same drum you used last month. No assuming what the liquid is based on what it looks like. Basically, it means no pulling answers out of your hat. Identifying the liquid means you are 100% sure what it is. Here's how to be sure. When assessing a spill, the first thing we want to do is think 360 by 360. What this means is that you need to be aware of all potential hazards in 2 full circles, one at eye level and behind, and another above and below you. You need to look for open drains or grates, running machinery, slip or fall hazards, vehicle traffic areas, ignition sources, structural damage, or other potential hazard. Step 1. Mark the area. If you haven't already, now is when you want to make sure to put down safety cones or caution tape around the spill area. This is important because as you pick up the absorbents, someone walking by wouldn't have any way of knowing it's an active spill area and that there is still slippery spill residue on the floor. So, until the spill is completely cleaned up and the floor is safe again, you want to make sure the area is clearly marked. Whether you use cones or caution tape or barricades, the goal is to make sure that the hazard is clearly marked all the way around, including any aisles or access points that may lead into the spill area. Step 2. Absorb the spill. At this point, you're ready to absorb the spill, and the easiest way to do that is with absorbent pads. Our goal is to cover as much of the surface of the spill as we can to absorb as much of the spill as possible. To give yourself a little more margin for safety, it can help to start dropping absorbent pads on the front of the spill or the direction the spill was traveling. This side is usually the deepest part of the spill, and starting here will help make sure the spill doesn't travel any further or break through your diking. From here, you want to keep dropping absorbent pads on the surface of the spill until you have completely covered it. They don't have to be perfect. You just want to drop the pads as quickly as you can to achieve good coverage on the spill. It's okay if the pads overlap a little or have gaps. If you see any areas where the absorbents become completely saturated, drop a few more pads on top of that area. Giving the absorbents a little time to do their job means you'll need less time to do your job to finish the cleanup. The next step in race car spill response: A. Assess the spill area. Why is this important? 1. Good info equals good decisions. The better information you have up front about the spill and other potential hazards, the better you can respond. 2. It only takes 15 seconds. It may take only seconds, but it's an essential step to take in any spill, large or small. 3. It can save lives. The most important goal of this step is to help us respond to the spill without getting anyone hurt or damaging the environment. What can happen if we don't properly assess a spill? Let's take a look at 2 examples that commonly happen in plants worldwide. When you first discover a large spill, your first instinct may be to panic and immediately run to stop the spill, get supplies, or alert others. If you react to a large spill without thinking, you, my friend, are creating what is called a high-stress situation. Studies show that when we're in times of high stress, we make 4 times more mistakes, our decision-making is 60% worse, team performance is 50% worse, and our focus is reduced to about the size of a quarter at arm's length. When you put all these numbers together, it's no surprise that high-stress situations also lead to 50% more injuries. When you come across a small spill, you might assume it can't hurt anything, that all you need to do is grab a handful of wipers or a couple absorbent pads and just clean it up. No PPE, no precautions, no knowing what's in that drum. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, you might get lucky because maybe your facility only has a few dangerous liquids. So day after day after day, you assume those small spills won't be harmful. And that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Why? Because it's that one spill that's going to end up catching you off guard and landing you in the hospital. Think it can't happen to you? Let's take a look at the most common liquids used in manufacturing in the U.S. Number 1 most common liquid, water. Number 2, that would be sulfuric acid. One is harmless. The other will send you to the hospital with severe burns. And both spills look exactly the same. That's why it's so important to assess every spill, large or small.